It's time for a brandy new episode of Tyrants on the Field. This time we are talking about the just finished Polish Masters. So pretty exciting for our friends over in Poland. They completed their Masters two-day event, 22-person open to start the event, and then a cut to top 8. Pretty diverse crew by the numbers, so let's get into it as we do on here. So for the entirety of the event, we had 3 players on Chimera, Shadowflame Shard, 3 players on Storm Legion, 3 players on Dusk, 3 players on Brine Bloods, 3 players on Khador Winter Core, 2 players on Orgoth, 1 player on Final Interdiction, Menoth, 1 player on Convergence, 1 player on Necrofactorum Crix, 1 Infernals player, and that is what we had. In terms of a breakdown, in terms of overall win percentage, Brian Bruds led the way with a 67% win rate on 9 games played. Final Interdiction went 2-1 for a 67% win rate. Infernals also 2-1 for a 67% win rate. Shadowflame Shard, 9 games played, 5-4 record, 56% win percent. Same thing with Dusk House Callus, 9 games played, 5-4, 56% win rate. Sea Raiders, a solid 50% effort, 6 games played, 3-3. Storm Legion, 11 games played, most of the tournament, or 12 games rather, 5-6. 5-7 on the day for about a 40% win rate. Winter Core, 9 games played, 3 up, 6 down, 33% win rate. Necrofactorum, 3 games played, 1 win, 2 losses, 33% win rate. Tied with Convergence of Cirrus, also 3 games played, 1 up, 2 down, 33% win rate. Okay, so what does all of it mean in the grander scheme of things? All right, talking about top 8, which is really where the event gets a bit more interesting. From a breakdown perspective, your number 1 was Camille Nowak, rocking Storm Legion. His Storm Legion pairing was Alistair Kane and Madison Calder. And he was Kane for all 3 games on the in the finals, or all 3 games of the finals, all 3 wins. 3-0, played against Harusk, played into Kyrax, and played into Hazaroth. Speaking of runner-up in the event, was Blad Big B, which is the Longshanks name, rocking Hazaroth and Moraine in a Dusk pairing. In the top 8, played Moraine once and Hazaroth twice. Win with Moraine, win with Hazaroth, and a loss with Hazaroth into Kane 4 in the final round. Piotrek was in 3rd with Shadowflame Shard. Shadowflame Shard 2-1 in the top 8. Kyrax all 3 rounds. Kyrax 2-1, beating beating Shadowtongue, losing to Kane 4, to the eventual winner of the event, Camille, and then winning against Kishtar in the 3rd round. Michael Gora, 4th place with Brine Bloods 2-1. Shadowtongue into Moraine, which was a loss. Ragemonger into Moraine, which was a win. And then Shadowtongue into Shyrus, which was a win. Fifth place at 1 and 2 on the day, Orgoth under Slywester, rocking a pairing of Harusk and Kishtar. Then we had another Chimera at 1 and 2 with a pairing of Rassic and Shirus. Orgoth running Harusk twice at 1 and 1, and then Kishtar once for a loss. And then on Camille's side with Shadowflame Shard, Rassic twice, going 1 and 1 with Rassic in the top 8, and then losing with Shirus to go 1 and 2. Second Brine Bloods player in the top 8, Shaysum, with a pairing of Captain Shadowtongue and Ragemonger. In terms of results breakdown, two recorded games, both with Shadowtongue, both losses to Kyrax and Harusk, and then a win on the bye. In eighth place, Mikhail Nakinski. I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize. Part of the Moment of Clarity crew with Dusk, with Moraine and Tyrus. Played Moraine in the two games that they played. They dropped for the third round. Moraine and Rassic, or Moraine lost to Rassic, and then won against Ragemonger, or sorry, lost against Ragemonger as well. Congratulations to all those that played in Polish Masters and for all of those that made top 8. And a special congratulations to Camille Nowak on taking the entirety of the event with Storm Legion. So it's that time again where we're going to talk a little bit about events, where we are at as a whole, this being the most recent large event that has kind of come across the Tyrants on the Field radar. You can definitely check it out at Moments of Clarity. They were streaming most of the weekend, if not, I think, believe all the weekend. So a lot of good games on there to watch and absorb and check out the Polish meta if that is something that you are interested in. But I want to talk about the meta as a whole. We've had a bunch of reveals this past week on the Shadow and Scum boxes. There's still some more reveals to go. In terms of the caster, this is being recorded on Sunday. So we've seen all of the beasts, we've seen the units, we've seen the solos. And it's a pretty interesting box set, and I think it does quite a bit to sort of change up a bit of what Shadowflame Shard is doing or reinforce what they're doing. And I think it turns on Nixian in a way that she just hasn't been yet, although she has been getting fairly decent results in the general meta. I just think this latest bit of kit really helps elevate her game, gives her a couple of interesting things to do in a way that she just didn't have before, and more general support for her game plan. The Scum and Shadow box is a pretty interesting starter set also on the Brine Blood side. You've got a couple of pretty interesting pieces. I'm not sold on the Lakabash boys, which is their character unit, but it does seem like they are something that will take up a bunch of space on the board and maybe a bit more survivable than your standard Marauder package. I don't know that that helps them in a tremendous way. Whereas when you compare them to the Shades, and the Shades are fortune hunting unit that ambushes, has range 8 guns with Fortune Hunter, natively stealth unit um, with additional distance on place. Quite a contrast in styles. Now the Lakabesh boys did get Sanguine Bond, which is a long-time Protectorate player. Is interesting to me. It's not nothing, but it may not be enough. But I'm withholding my judgment generally. There, we'll see how it plays out. But my focus has been mostly on Shadowflame Shard this year. It will continue to be so. So the Shadowflame update in terms of the new kit that's coming is pretty exciting on the whole. So as we talk about this a little bit more, want to look at sort of the general meta and where things are sort of falling currently. As we sort of look at it right now, and just really touching on our Mark IV Prime factions in terms of the latest bits in play right now. House Callus continues to be the most played faction with over 2,600 games recorded, almost 2,700. 55% win rate through the start of the year. Orgoth right on their heels still. 2,200 games played, 53% win rate. Blood Marauders, 1,900 games played, 51% win rate so far. Storm Legion, about 1,772 games played, 50% win rate. So Storm Legion has improved itself quite a bit since the Kane release, and we just continue to see, and the update can definitely tell that there has been a revitalization of Storm Legion, but still not a ton of games. Speaking of additional resurgence, Shadowflame Shard, 1,947 games played, 50% win rate. Darn near exact. And then Nixian has about 100 games played, a little over 100 games played, 112 games. Total 48% win rate, right in there, about 2% above Shyrus with 584 games played, and Rassic with 293 games played with a 49% win rate. Kyrax by far second most games played with 359, but a 58% win rate. Kyrax is propping up the faction's win rate significantly. Rassic has had a good resurgence. Shyrus is the most played, but she is struggling the most, which would indicate to me that she is being placed in matchups where Shadowflame Shard feels that she is the only option, but she is not the best out. And so that's where you're seeing a little bit of tail end number with her there. She also just has a very swingy game in many cases. Lilith was just recently added within the last few days to Longshanks, and so there's only 3 games recorded with her so far, and no wins recorded as of yet. So still too early on the data with her. Necrofactorum, 827 games played so far this year in the rolling calendar, 49% win rate. So we're seeing an uptick in Crix and Crix execution. Winter Core, 2,276 games played, 49% win rate. So again, what does all this mean? Well, if we look at it, of those that have a significant number of games that are prime and are prime armies, all of them fall within a 6% band of win rate, between 55% and 49% overall win rate within the game. Pretty tight from a balance standpoint. Still some bits that are left to be determined. We're still in a rolling average. It's still very early in the packet cycle. There's still a lot of games that are propping up some of these win rates from previous months, because again, we're still about 9 months on the previous package or previous packet, and only about 2 months, 2.5 months into the new packet on this side and the January update. So still a lot to kind of see and wade through, but from a meta perspective, Prime is pretty well balanced and pretty well balanced into itself and the general field that's being taken. A couple of movers that I want to talk about from Armies of Legend. Armies of Legend, 713 games played on the rolling calendar average with Infernals, 61% win rate, best win rate in the game right now, with over 500 games played. Next best is Grimkin at 501 with 56% win rate. This is one that I think is being propped up a bit by previous games. So we're going to keep seeing this particular rate adjust over time. And I'm interested to see how much it adjusts, if any. Again, looking through for anything with 500 games played. I'll talk about it. It's under 500 games played, but it is one to talk about, which is Final Interdiction. 323 games played, 49% win rate. Considering Final Interdiction was a footnote last year, for the most part, it seems that Final Interdiction is starting to get some traction. I think there's a couple of lists that represent some pretty interesting bit of tech that folks are kind of utilizing and seeing in the packet that we have, and sort of digging for gold in those armies of renowned, or armies of legend, whatever the term is. I can't remember the term. And finding a bit of it with Final Interdiction. That's a spot that's pretty interesting. Dark Host has 407 games played, so we'll talk about them a little bit. They have a 43% win rate right now. Not significant in the grand scheme of things, but Crix is still Crix. I think you'll see them in team events. I think they're stronger in team events, particularly Dark Host, than it is in a standard event by any stretch of the imagination. Those are kind of the big movers that I want to talk about. I do just want to indicate that sort of the rest of the field is under about 300 games played generally. There are a couple of outliers to that. Dark Operations still has 341 games played. It's sitting at about a 50% win rate right now. Good for 12th overall. You've got your Exalted sitting at 391 games played, 60% win rate overall. That I suspect to come down a little bit with the Zal nerfs. I think you're continuing to see that number is kind of halted in terms of games played. Interested to see how it continues to progress. Infernals continue to be the most impressive army in Legends right now. Dragon's Host, let's talk about. Dragon's Host only has 193 games played. It's at a 50% win rate right now. Considering it was DOA for most of the first 2 years of Mark IV. Pardon me. Um, Getting it to a 50% win rate now and having it gain a little bit of traction, I think, is a testament to the recent update that occurred with it in January. I think Dragon's Host benefited quite a bit from that update. And I would not be surprised if you start to see more of it. I think there's a lot of really great bits in Dragon Host that could stand to be exploited a bit more than they are currently. So that is our general meta check-in. Um, we are starting to see not quite to the 500 games played mark on most of the new scenarios, but we are starting to get a little bit of data around them. Um, Nothing exceptional as of yet, and not bits that I want to discuss too much because there's just not enough data yet. But it's something we're going to keep watching, and as we do these meta check-ins, we'll talk about. But yeah, Adepticon is right around the corner. The ATC is coming up at Adepticon. Very exciting event. Will be really, um, really good to see a strong ATC turnout at Adepticon. They were able to sell that event out twice to gain more space, which is fantastic. There's going to be a very large Iron Gauntlet there. It's going to be at 100 points. Adepticon is going to be absolutely off the chain. And there's going to be a big general announcement by Steamforged Games there with a keynote. So be their chance to show off and talk to the community directly about what is coming, what SFG is excited about for War Machine in the next 12 months. And I am looking forward to getting all I can from the keynote and watching all of the coverage via Longshanks there, and then anything that comes through on the various social medias of folks that are going to be at Adepticon. I will be eating up all weekend because unfortunately I am unable to go. So if you're in the same boat as me, we can commiserate and talk about it. And if you're not, congratulations. Enjoy Adepticon immensely. It is a fantastic con. It's in Wisconsin this year, so that is a bit of a change. It used to be just outside of Chicago. Now it's going to be a little bit further away from Chicago, but I think it ends up at a better venue longer term where they can grow it out in Milwaukee. So excited for that, excited for the future of it, and excited for War Machine in general.